All right, so that's the second part that we'll take a look at later today. So what did you guys notice about the environment that she was setting up there for those kids? How did it support them?
Well, she wouldn't let them fail.
Mhm.
I mean, and you could try and try and try, but you know, you just can't give up.
Right.
That's not happening.
Good.
Yeah.
She forced them to step out in the comfort zone. A lot of them quite shy and not confident, and she kind of made them, speak up, speak for yourself, be loud.
Yeah. Good.
It appeared to be,
Sorry.
it appeared to be safe, and I never heard her say anything negative to the children.
Right. Very positive environment, yeah.
It was okay to make a mistake, you could opt out, and she would give you time to practice to someone, you would come back the next day.
Yeah, I think that's one of the most powerful things in that is when, you'll be back. You can go, but you're coming back. Yeah.
I think she kind of tried to sterilize it to some degree, to when she had them shaking their hands and stomping their feet, to kind of shake everything off to try to make it seem as though it was a sanctuary.
Mm-hmm. Good. Yeah.
What stood out for me, one thing, even on their first day, they needed 3 songs. So from the start, you knew that it was going to be hard work, it was challenging.
Yeah, there was certainly high expectations, and I think the way that he went about that in terms of just adding layers too, is in terms of instruction, we need students to see that there's a connection between what they're learning and success. That they're taking steps towards success. So not only do they know they need to see the end result, they need to see that they're making progress towards that, and that's a really important thing too. Any other thoughts? Okay. We'll come back and watch the second half of that later today. So this is what we're going to look at today just in terms of the structure, classroom environment. And there's so much more than this, but in trying to pare this down, this is what I decided just to focus on. So growth mindset, and we'll talk about what that is, but it's really the difference between having a fixed versus growth mindset. A lot of kids come in with, I've never been good at this, I never will be good at that. And so how do we impart in them a mindset that I can overcome that, I can be successful? Which part of that is assessment for learning. So using assessment not as assign a grade for you, but using assessment to show progress, to show growth, and to show that there's a connection between that effort and success. Respectful instruction, just because kids struggle doesn't mean that they should be given rote learning experiences. Everybody deserves access to engaging curriculum, engaging instruction. The teacher leading and managing the classroom, obviously, and then building classroom community as well. Are kind of the five factors that can go into supporting student success in the classroom. So our objectives for today, and this is in, I don't know if you guys are familiar with Understanding by Design or KUD format, but knows, understands, and do's, just the way to set up objectives. That you guys will understand that creating a classroom environment for student success is based on a set of interdependent classroom elements, that all those things are connected. They're all important and they're all interconnected to helping students be successful. Know what a classroom environment for student success looks like, elements of this environment, and then hopefully throughout today just designing some criteria for your classrooms, for your schools, so that you can think about promoting this type of environment. So this is a quote that Carol Tomlinson, who's an expert in differentiation, one of the quotes that I heard from her one time. It's hard to build a community of learners where the kids trust each other when the teacher believes that some of the students are winners and some are losers. It's hard for kids to trust each other when they know who the winners and losers are. For kids to see each other as a team of learners, we have to see them all as learners and present them to each other that way. So it's not about, some of you are better students than others, some of you are winners, some of you are losers. It's, if we want to create that community, we really need to see all of them as learners, all of them as being able to achieve success, and then we go from there. And so why does classroom environment matter? And this is just some research that kind of shows what actually happens in the brain, some brain research for learning environments. And this is from Tomlinson and Souza. It's called a book called Differentiation in the Brain. That Souza guy is a neuro or a cognitive scientist. So he studies a lot of brain research. And so these are some of the things that they came up with. Is it a positive classroom environment actually releases endorphins, which are that pleasureful feeling? And when, like you can think of like a runner's high, eating chocolate, like those types of things. If we can get those endorphins going and kids really get excited about learning, it'll lead to a lot more success in the classroom. The other side of that is that negative classroom environments tend to increase cortisol levels, and those are anxiety. Those cause anxiety. And so what happens is that kids have to focus on one thing, and they end up focusing on the stress a lot of times as opposed to the actual learning that needs to take place. So if we can make the environment less stressful for them, it can help them be successful. And then that kind of gets to that survival needs thing. It's like, do I focus on stress, do I focus on anxiety, or do I focus on the learning? I'm sure you guys have always been in situations, or have all been in situations before where it's a very stressful situation, and you tend to focus on that anxiety, on the stress, the nervousness, as opposed to the actual learning or what's going on around you. Negativity decreases the desire of students to cooperate with the teacher, and so kind of you guys were talking about the opposite of that taking place in that video is that everything was very positive, and the kids responded to that. When there's a lot of negativity that creeps into the classroom, kids tend to rebel and they pull away, and then we become increasingly negative towards them. And so it's like this vicious cycle where it starts with one piece of negativity and really just kind of snowballs after that. And so you start seeing those kids as the trouble kids in your class. And then they view themselves as the trouble kids in your class, and it just goes from there. Students need to learn to respond to each other's behavioral clues. And so social interactions are really important, especially for adolescents. They're learning how to interact socially and academically, and so we need to make sure to provide them opportunities to do that in a setting where it's structured and supported. Teachers need to be able to empathize with their students, and I think in that video we saw a lot of that. It's her empathizing with what was going on with those kids, and there's a lot more later that you'll see. Fear of failure is an obstacle, and so anytime we can provide feedback kind of along the way and show students their progress along the way, then that end result won't be as stressful. When they get to that final summative assessment, whatever it might be, it's not going to be as stressful then because they'll have some support along the way. And teachers who offer emotional support to struggling students have students who score 17% percentile points, sorry, repetitive there, 17 percentile points higher. And so if we can offer, especially for kids who traditionally struggle in school, if we can offer them some emotional support, if we can empathize with them, that's going to lead to more success. So those things are important. So this is why that learning environment really does matter. It's not just, classroom community isn't about warm fuzzies. It really does have an impact on student learning. So that's the first one we're going to focus on. And this is an activity, if I can maybe get, I don't know, 6 or 7 people, wouldn't mind just coming up. It's painless, I promise. Just to kind of stand up here in front. Thank you. Just a couple more. Thank you all. All right, so what we're going to do is you guys are going to rank yourselves. I'm going to put up some different activities. And down there is novice, down here is expert. And so, and so rank yourself based on how you feel about that particular activity. Do you feel like you're a novice at it and an expert at it? Okay. So the first one is writing. How do you guys feel about writing? Apparently you became an expert. All right, what about organizing things? It's very organized. You guys are teachers. How about balancing your checkbook?
We're pretty good at that.
All right. What about remembering facts? Who's good at trivia? Paying attention when people are talking. Building and fixing things with my hands. What about tennis? Anybody play tennis? All right, what about cooking? Go in the other room. Singing.
What I believe?
right, how about calculus?
Ooh, where's the nomination?
That'll be number 2.
No man.
Cleaning the house. Who likes to do that? Golf. Anybody play golf? What about interpersonal skills? Who notices the moods of others well? Can pick up on. Good. Being on time. What about analyzing literature? And then sewing and knitting. All right, thank you guys. So what did you guys notice about that activity?
People know what they're good at.
Well, it's recognizing yourselves, what you do, what you're good at, but what else?